guys, welcome back to my channel. Simone here. Today I'm going to be filming the first or top shelf of my small bookshelf tour. I will link below the playlist which has my full overview of my bookshelves and my big bookshelf tour shelf by shelf. There's 5 videos there. Today I wanted to talk about what I call my small bookshelf. I also have what I call my little bookshelf, which is you'll have seen in the overview, but today, as I said, I want to do the top shelf of my small bookshelf tour. This is a bookshelf that I have behind the door in my bedroom, and I actually really like this bookshelf. I just think there's something about the books on this that I'm really excited about, like every single one, and the shelves are longer so I can fit more on, and I just think it looks really cool. You can probably see above the shelf here we have the books that I have read this month. So at the moment I'm filming this, it is July, so you probably would have seen the wrap up for that already. I'm not 100% sure when this is going up. And then over here we have the books that I read not last month but the month before. These are kind of the ones I'm going to be taking to charity soon. And up here there is a dandy, which we won't talk about that right now. So yeah, I'm going to get started and talk about the books on this shelf. So the first book we have is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I don't really know too much about this. I've heard very mixed things, so I'm having to hold this because it's a little bit might be a little bit wonky. This one is a book that I've read lots about. Lots of people, like I say, have very differing opinions. Some people love this, some people hate it. I've heard a lot of people think it's quite cliche and very similar to a lot of other fantasy books on the market. But I'm excited to read it anyway, and also this cover is gorgeous, and I know this is a series, and I think the series is finished now, so that's quite exciting. Next up we have Hens Reunited by Lucy Diamond. This is a chick lit book. I really like Lucy Diamond's writing. I've actually only read one of her books, I think, but I really enjoyed it. This one follows a group of hens, as in hen party friends. They went to each other's hen parties, and if you don't know, hens, if you're American, you might think that's like the same as bachelorettes in America. So their marriages are all falling apart, and it's about their test of their friendship, I think. As you may or may not know, I am actually engaged, and that happened in the last month, so obviously eventually I'm going to have a hen party. Hopefully my marriage won't fall apart. That's a little bit scary. Let's not think about that. But yeah, I'm very excited to be getting married, so this is another book that I'm hoping to read maybe a little bit closer to my own hen party. Next up we have The Cake Shop in the Garden by Carol Matthews. This is another chick lit book. I do love a chick lit every now and then, and I really enjoy the kind of like tea shop in the garden, or like tea shop on the corner, or that kind of a thing. I don't know, there's something about these covers that just always makes me happy. So yeah, I don't know anything else about it apart from it's about a woman who runs a cake shop in her garden, and then something pretty dramatic happens and she has to sort of reevaluate her life, I think. Next up we have Baby Doll by Holly Overton. This is a thriller that I've heard pretty negative things about. However, this follows a woman who has been kept captive in one single room for 8 years since she was 16 years old, and one day she realises that her captor has left the door open, and it's about her escaping, I think, and then what happens. I've heard, like I said, not great things about the fat representation in this as well, so I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt, but I'll see what I think when I read it. Then we have Crown of Midnight by Sarah J Maas, which I think is the second book in the Throne of Glass series. This is possibly the next one I have to read. I actually own all of the, well, the first 3 or 4 books in this series, and I read Throne of Glass relatively recently. In fact, I think it was last month, and really enjoyed it, so hopefully I'll be able to get on and read the next one. This follows Selena Sardothian, who is a trained assassin, and she has to essentially duel in a fight to the death in order to become the king's champion so that she can be freed. And yeah, I'm looking forward to reading the second one, like I said, because I really enjoyed the first one and also the prequels. Next up is The Doll Funeral by Kate Hamer. I think Kate Hamer wrote The Girl in the Red Coat, which I've heard of, but I haven't actually read myself. I've heard good things though. This one is one I found in a charity shop, and I thought the cover was really interesting, so I decided to pick it up. It's a thriller based on a girl who lives with her non-biological parents, and I think it's about that. I really don't know anything else about it. It sounds a little bit like ghostly to me, but I'm not sure if that's just because of the way that they've done the synopsis or whatever. So I don't know if there is any paranormal in this at all, but either way it sounds really interesting. Next up we have Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. As you all know, I'm a massive Stephen King fan. This is the first in a trilogy. I think this is the Bill Hodges trilogy, and it follows Bill Hodges, who is a retired cop, and he has been haunted by this one case because he's not been able to solve it. And it also jointly follows the guy who did it, and he's about to commit another crime, and then it's about who is they're outwitting each other or trying to, basically. My mum actually read this first book and really loved it, and she has the second and third book. So she really enjoyed it. So hopefully this is a series that I will also really enjoy, and as you know, like I said, I love Stephen King. We then have I Know This Much Is True by Wally Lamb. This is a 900-page book, and it is a book that I keep thinking about reading, and then I put it down because I don't want to start a massive huge book. This is about twin brothers, one of which is a paranoid schizophrenic and the other one has to deal with the consequences of that. Like I said, I'm looking forward to reading this. I just need to, you know, fully commit to it, because like I said, I keep thinking about reading it and then I just never do. Also, can you see how much my hand is shaking because this book is so heavy? Next up we have The Circle by Dave Eggers. This is a book about an internet company who essentially have all of everybody's internet access in one place, and it is a thriller, and I've actually seen the movie adaptation with Emma Watson in it, and it was fantastic. It has Emma Watson and also Tom Hanks. This is a fantastic book, and I really enjoy the I don't know, there's just something about it that's just really fun. It is scary because it does talk about like an organisation trying to run the world but via the internet, basically, and yeah, I think that you should definitely read this if you haven't already. Next up we have Hidden Figures by Margot Lee Shetterly. This follows a group of African American women who actually helped the what they call the space race, so the first astronaut into space, and this is the kind of untold story because they I mean, I didn't know anything about this. I know this has just been made a film, and this has a lot of wonderful characters and women in. It also is, like I said, a film now, so I really want to see the film, but I do want to read the book first, and this is a bit of non-fiction, so, and also I'm pretty sure that Margot Lee Shetterly actually knows the women, or is like related to someone who knows the women. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm really excited to read this. Next up we have Persuasion by Jane Austen. I only have 2 Jane Austen books left to read, this one and Northanger Abbey. This one is really short. This basically follows, I think, a lady named Anne Elliot who breaks off her engagement to a naval captain who doesn't really have any money or prospects, and then the war ends and he comes home, and then she starts to think that maybe there's possibly a second chance going on, I think. I know that Emily from Novel Novels hates this book, but Charlie said it was okay and she enjoyed it, so I'm interested to see what I think. I think Jane Austen's books are sometimes a bit difficult to read, but I do think once you really get into them they are amazing, so looking forward to this one, and as I said, it's quite a short one as well. Then we have Shadows of the Workhouse by Jennifer Worth. As you can see just up here, you can see that I read Farewell to the East End, which was part of the same series. I actually really didn't enjoy that Farewell to the East End one because there wasn't much midwifery stuff in. If you don't know, this is a book in the series of the Call the Midwife series, and Call the Midwife is a book that actually is about to come up on my shelf just about here. But this Shadows of the Workhouse is the second one, and then Farewell to the East End is the third one, and I just was a bit disappointed by it because it didn't have the Call the Midwife, like, midwifery stuff in it. So I'm hoping this one has a bit more of that in, you never know. But either way, I'm looking forward to getting to this one, and also I'm probably going to buddy read this again with Emily from Novel Novels because I buddy read Farewell to the East End with her as well. Next up we have Sleeping Arrangements by Sophie Kinsella, writing as Madeline Wickham. I really enjoy Sophie Kinsella's writing in general. I've never actually read a book with her writing as Madeline Wickham, so this could be interesting to see how different that is. I think this follows 2 families who both have been offered a loan of a villa out in Spain by a friend of the family on both sides, and however what they don't realise is accidentally he's double booked, so they end up having to share the villa, and also they have a bit of a secret history, the families, so yeah, it could be really interesting. I'm really excited actually. Again, this is not a very big book, and like I said, I enjoy Sophie Kinsella, so it's interesting to see how Madeline Wickham is different. Next up we have Call the Midwife by Jennifer Worth. As I said a minute ago, this is actually the first book in that series, which I haven't read yet. I know that Emily has read this one and enjoyed it, so I'm hoping I enjoy this one more. I then have Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. This would be the first book that I've read by Emily Bronte. I love Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. It's one of my favourite classics, but I've not read anything by her sister. This, as far as I know, follows Cathy and Heathcliff and a moor in Yorkshire, and I don't know anything else about it. I've heard that none of the characters in this are particularly likeable, but that that you don't really mind once you read it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what my opinion of this book will be. Next up we have Susanna's Garden by Debbie Macomber. This is an author that I adore. I love Debbie Macomber. Again, she's kind of like chick litty, and I adore that. This is definitely a book that I'm looking forward to getting to. I don't know if this is part of her series. I do really enjoy her series in general. This one I think follows a lady named Susanna who when she was 18 her parents sent her to school abroad, and so she said goodbye to her boyfriend and never saw him again. Now she's married a teacher and she has children, but something's not quite right. She's just not very happy and she can't quite work out why. So yeah, I think it's about that. Again, very excited about this. Love this cover as well. Next up we have A Storm of Swords Part 1, Steel and Snow by George R.R. Martin. I believe this is the third book in the, A Song of Ice and Fire Game of Thrones series. I've read the first one, I really enjoyed it. I now own the second and third as well, so I do need to get to these. It's quite a big book, this one. It's 650 pages, so yeah, looking forward to reading this one though. It should be good. Obviously just need to get to the second one first. Next up we have Truly Madly Guilty by Liane Moriarty. Liane Moriarty wrote The Big Little Lies, which I absolutely adored, and I do own a few others of her books. This one I think starts at a barbecue and then it ends with somebody dead and people not very happy and lots of other things. Liane Moriarty is really good at doing kind of contemporary with a sort of mystery thriller edge to it, which I personally really enjoy, so yeah, I can't wait to get to another one of her books. Next up we have Dead Cold by Louise Penny. This is the second book in the Inspector Armand Gamache story. I read the first one, I can't even remember what the first one was called now. I read the first one last year I think and really enjoyed it. So this, like I say, is the second one. This follows Chief Inspector Armand Gamache when they find an electrocuted body in the middle of snow, no footprints and no real understanding or witnesses of what happened, and basically then it follows what happens. This is set in Canada, which is always a little bit different. I really enjoyed reading about, like I said, the last one, so yeah, looking forward to continuing the series. Next up is Undead and Unappreciated by Mary Janice Davidson. This is, I think, the fourth book in the Undead series. This basically follows a woman named Betsy Taylor, who in the first book wakes up dead as a vampire, and she has all these powers and this is all a new world to her. She has an obsession with shoes, and yeah, lots of other things happen. It's really, really fun, and again, really short books, and looking forward to reading the fourth one. I think I still have to read the third one as well, so yeah, that's definitely one that I'm hoping to get to. We then have Stolen by Lucy Christopher. This is one of the oldest books on my physical TBR. This follows a woman who was kidnapped from an airport, and basically this is her letter to her captor. I kind of really enjoy this kind of story, so I'm looking forward to this, and I think this could be really interesting because I think it's written in kind of letter form, so yeah, it could be an exciting read. Then we have The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. This is another 900 odd page book that follows a young 13-year-old boy named Theo whose parents I think die in an accident, and then he ends up living with someone else and there's something to do with a painting. I don't really know too much else about this, and I'm unsure about whether I'm actually ever going to read this. I started reading, as you can see up here, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I think it was a couple of months ago, and I really did not like it. In fact, I DNF'd it because I didn't enjoy the writing. So I'm interested to see whether this one is any better when I read it. I know that Nicole from A Beautiful Chaos of Books did actually read this one and she thought it was okay. So potentially it's one I'll be able to at least finish. This is literary fiction, which is definitely not my general genre. But yeah, looking forward to perhaps giving it a go, but we'll soon see. Next up we have Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Rees Brennan, Maureen Johnson and Robin Wasserman. This is a it's a big book, but it's 10 short stories, I believe, from the Shadowhunter world that follow Simon, who is one of the main characters in the Mortal Instruments series. Simon is not a character that I love, to be honest with you. I have a lot of kind of love-hate feelings for him, so potentially this is not a book I'm going to love, but I am looking forward to reading it because, like I said, I've just finished the Mortal Instruments series, so this is quite exciting that potentially I'll be able to actually read one of the other books in the series. We then have Southern Lights by Danielle Steele. I love Danielle Steele's writing, as you probably all know. This one particularly follows Alexa, who is a criminal defense attorney, as she has been handed the case of a serial killer that she has to defend. Basically though, she keeps getting these really threatening letters addressed or directed at her young daughter Savannah, and she then has to decide whether she will stay in the city and take the case, or whether she and Savannah will move back to her childhood home where lots of bad things happen to her, and she's a bit nervous about that. I'm assuming they go back to the Deep South because that's kind of the point of the book, I guess, but we'll obviously see what happens, and I think it's about the bond between mother and daughter, which I think is really lovely as well. Then we have The English Patient by Michael Ondaatje. This follows a group of shell-shocked patients. This follows a group of shell-shocked characters after the Second World War, and it follows lots of different things. This is actually a movie, and I think from the front there it's saying that it won a load of Academy Awards. And it was also a Booker Prize-winning novel. So yeah, it could be an interesting read. I don't know too much else about this, but you know I love a Second World War book, so yeah, looking forward to it. Then we have A Merry Little Christmas by Debbie Macomber. Again, I love Debbie Macomber, as I said earlier. This obviously is a Christmas novel. It actually has 2 stories in here. One of them follows a woman who ends up with puppies on her doorstep and has to try and get homes for them just before Christmas. And the other one, I don't really know too much else about the other one, if I'm honest. As I said, I'd read anything by Debbie Macomber, so definitely looking forward to reading this one when it gets to Christmas time. And then the final book on this shelf is Thinner by Stephen King, writing as Richard Bachman. Again, I haven't actually read any of the Richard Bachman books, but I do, I think, now own all of them, apart from the one that's no longer being made anymore. Is it called Rage? This one is about a man who is obese, and he accidentally runs over an old gypsy's wife, and then the gypsy touches his face and just says the word dinner, and suddenly he starts losing weight like there's no tomorrow. And yeah, it's about that. I've seen I think it was a Netflix adaptation, or it was just an adaptation, but either way it was on Netflix. I have seen that and it was really good, so I'm looking forward to reading the book, and it's also very small. So there you have it, guys. That is the top shelf of my small bookshelf tour. And also today I wanted to do my video shout out. I would like to shout out Victoria from the channel What Victoria Read. I adore Victoria's channel, and I'm really excited because I'm pretty sure that she's a co-host for the Thriller-a-thon this year. I absolutely love Victoria's channel. I found her channel by watching Nicole from A Beautiful Chaos of Books, and she talks about Victoria a lot. And Victoria really reads a lot of thrillers and mysteries and horrors like I do, so she's definitely a great find, and I love watching her videos. So definitely go and check out Victoria's channel if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you next time for another video. Bye guys!